Hi, everybody. I just wanted to review the test with you. So I'm going to just do the problems out so you can check your test and see where, if you made any mistakes, what they were. And then the next time we Zoom, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. So the first one on the test was 7 cubed times 7 to the 8th power. Remember the rule, when you're multiplying like bases, we keep the base and we add the exponents. So keeping the base 7, adding the exponents 3 and 8 is 11. Number 2 was the quantity of WC squared, C to the 7th, I'm sorry, times the quantity of negative 8 W cubed C to the 5th. So that isn't too good there, but okay. So now you multiply like bases, you multiply the coefficients, you keep the base, and you add the exponents. So the coefficients technically would be 1 and negative 8. Remember, there would be a 1 here. And then you would have W's. Okay, again, remember that there is a 1 understood here. So now you have 1 plus 3 from this W. Then you have C's that are like bases, so you copy your C, and then you add the exponents that are on your C's. So you have 7 plus 5. So that equals negative 8 W to the 4th power, C to the 10th power, 12th power. Sorry about that, 12th power. 7 plus 5 is 12. Let me just write that a little bit better. There we go. All right, number 3. Number 3, you have the quantity of G to the 7th raised to the 6th power. So now you have a power to a power, an exponent being raised to another exponent. That rule tells you to keep the base and multiply the exponents. So now you're going to multiply 7 times 6 and get 42. So G to the 42nd power. Number 4. Number 4 is D times D to the 9th power times D to the 6th power. Again, what we have to remember is that first D has a 1 on it. All right, some of you forgot to add that 1. Oops, let's change that color back. So we keep the base and we add the exponents. And when we add the exponents, we get 16. Number 5 is very similar to number 2. So you have 3 C squared times the quantity of negative 3C squared D squared. Okay? All right, so multiply the coefficients. 3 times negative 3. Keep the base, which is C. Add the exponents on the C's. And then you have D squared. That's going to give you negative 9, c to the 4th power, d squared. Number 6. Number 6 says 8x cubed quantity squared times 2x squared quantity cubed. So now you've got a couple things going on here. Again, you have to remember PEMDAS, so parentheses and exponents first. So you're going to have to simplify that first factor, and you're going to have to simplify that second factor. And then once you do that, you'll be left with a multiplication problem. So you have to use the rules for multiplication to simplify your answer even further. So power to a power you multiply. So again, remember that this 8 has a 1 and the 2 has a 1. So now we're going to have power to a power. We keep the base and we multiply those exponents. So 8 to the 1 times 2. Keep the base, that's x. Multiply the exponents, 3 times 2. Moving on to the next parentheses, you keep the base, which is 2. Multiply the exponents, 1 times 3. Keep the base x, multiply the exponents 2 times 3. Now simplify. So you have 8 squared, x to the 6th power, times 8, 2 cubed. Oh, I should say 2 cubed. I'm going ahead of myself here. So times 2 cubed and x to the 6th power. Now I can simplify 8 squared, 64, x to the 6th times 8x to the 6th. Now we're going to multiply the 64 times 8, and 64 times 8 is 512. And then keep the base and add the exponents. So that's going to be 512 x to the 12th. Number 7. Number 7, you had one like this, I believe, on the quiz. If not on the quiz, then I had given you an example like this. So some of you, while you might have gotten the correct answer, the work was incorrect. So coincidentally, the wrong work actually gave us the right answer. So what you have to remember is that this first parentheses right here, that negative inside is technically a negative 1. So when you square that negative 1, it's going to become positive. Remember, power to a power, we're multiplying. So again, here, that negative 1 is being squared, and that x squared is being squared. So power to a power, we multiply. And then you have negative x cubed. So that negative 1 squared is just 1. So you should have had x squared times x to the 4th times negative x cubed. Now you have like bases, multiply those, and I could put a 1 here, but I multiply those coefficients, 1 times negative 1, that's negative 1. Keep your base and add the exponents. 2 plus 4 is 6, plus 3 is 9. So it is negative x to the 9th power, but not because there were 3 negatives. There were not 3 negatives, there was only 1 negative. Number 8. Number 8 is the quantity of v to the fourth power over w to the eighth, and that is all raised to the fourth power. So we're going to have a power to a power here. So we're going to take our numerator, keep the base, and multiply our exponents. Power to a power, multiply. Keep the base of w, multiply the exponents, 8 times 4. So you get v to the 16th, 4 times 4, over w to the 32nd power. Number 9. Number 9, we have 4 to the 6th power over 4 squared. Some did all of this out. Absolutely not necessary. Okay? So really what you should have done is said you had like bases. When we have like bases and we're dividing, we subtract the exponents. So you keep that base 4 and you subtract the exponents 6 minus 2. So you get 4 to the 4th power. 4 to the 4th power. Okay? That would be 4 times 4 is 16 times 4 times 4. So you can do 16 times 16. That's 36. Add the 3, 9, and then 16. So 256. Number 10. Number 10 was the quantity of h over 4 cubed. So that's going to be a power to a power. Remember, each of those has an exponent of 1. So you're going to get h to the 1 times 3 over 4 to the 1 times 3. So that's h cubed over 4 cubed. You are supposed to simplify any exponent 5 and under. So 4 cubed had to be simplified to 64. Number 11 is 2 to the 15th over 2 to the cubed. Again, you have a like base, so you keep the base and you subtract those exponents. 15 minus 3. That's 2 to the 12th power. You have to simplify anything 5 and below. That certainly is not that. So then that's your answer. Number 12. Number 12 is 5 to the 4th power times 5 to the 5th power over 5 to the 6th power. So you've got a couple things going on here. In your numerator, you have multiplication, and in your denominator, you have a denominator, so then you have division. So you're going to simplify that numerator first. You're multiplying, so the rule is to keep that base, add the exponents. So that's going to be 5 to the 9th power over 5 to the 6th power. Now you're dividing. So now you need to subtract the exponents. So that's 5 to the 9 minus 6. 9 minus 6 is 3. So your answer is 5 cubed. That exponent is below 5, so that means I want you to simplify it out. So that's 5 times 5 times 5. which is 5, which is 125. Number 13. Number 13, you have the mass of a boulder is 10 to the 6th grams. The mass of a pebble is about 10 grams. The mass of the boulder is how many times the mass of the pebble? So that's just a division problem. 10 to the 6th divided by 10. Again, remember there's a 1. So that's going to be 10 to the 6th minus 1, which is 10 to the 5th power, which means you have 5 zeros. So 100,000 grams. Okay, how many times? Number 14. A to the 5th times a to the negative 11th. Multiplying like bases, what's the rule? Keep the base, add the exponents. So 5 plus negative 11. That's a to the negative 6th. You cannot leave negative exponents as your answer, so you have to take its reciprocal. So you're going to get 1 over a to the 6th. Number 15. 15 says 3 cubed times 2 times 6 to the 0 power. 3 cubed is 27 times 2. Oh, plus, I'm sorry, these are plus. Sorry, pluses. Misread that. Plus 2. And anything to the 0 power is 1. So plus 1. 27 plus 2 plus 1 is 30. Number 16 says to write 3 to the 0 power times 3 to the negative 7th power using positive exponents. So 3 to the 0 is 1 times 3 to the negative 7th is just going to be 3 to the negative 7th. To get rid of a negative exponent or to turn it positive, we take its reciprocal. So 1 over 3 to the 7th power. Number 17. Number 17 says, which of the following is equal to 1 when multiplied by the opposite of 2 to the negative 2? So remember what that means. That negative is not with the 2. So that's going to stay outside. And that's going to become 1 over 2 squared, which is negative 1/4. So you need to multiply negative 1/4 by its reciprocal for it to become positive 1. So you're going to need to multiply that by negative 4. So you have to decide which one is negative 4. Well, A says the opposite of 2 squared. Well, the opposite of 2 squared is the opposite of 4. So there's your answer right there, because negative 1/4 times negative 4 is positive 1. So your answer was negative 2 squared, which was A. Number 18. 18 says to rewrite 3a squared b to the negative 2 c to the negative 3 using positive exponents. So when you have positive and negative exponents, you know you're going to end up with a fraction. So now you have to ask yourself, which factors do I have to take the reciprocal of? Well, I have to take the reciprocal of the negative exponents, the factors with the negative exponents. So that 3 is going to stay right where it is in the numerator. That a squared is going to stay right where it is. The b to the negative 2, I have to take its reciprocal. So that's 1 over b squared. So that means the b squared is now in the denominator. The same thing with c to the negative 3. It becomes 1 over c cubed. So that means the c is now in the denominator. So your answer would be 3a squared over b squared c cubed. Number 19. 19 says rewrite using positive exponents. So you have negative 2 to the 0 power times the quantity of 3x to the negative 2, y to the negative 2, raised, all being raised to the negative 1. So anything to the 0 power is 1. Okay, so we can write that down, or you really don't need it. Now you have a power to a power. Okay, remember this 3 has a 1. The 3 is not with the x and the y. It's a separate factor. It's 3 times x times y. So when we have a power to a power, we multiply the exponents. So 3, 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. X, negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2. And y, negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2. So now when you multiply, you get 3. Anything times 1 is itself. And now you have to move the 3 because it has a negative exponent. So that's going to become 3, positive 3 in the denominator. So your answer is x squared, y squared, all over 3. Because remember, the reciprocal of 3 to the negative 1 is 1/3. So 1/3 means 3 is in the denominator. Number 20. The mistake here is the careless mistake that people make on 20 is that numerator. That negative sign is not with the 3. That is read the opposite of 3 to the 0 power. If it was in parentheses with the 3, then the answer in the numerator would have been positive 1. But this is read the opposite of 3 to the 0 power. So the opposite of 1 becomes negative 1. That 4 is going to stay in the denominator because it has a positive 1 exponent. The x to the negative 3, on the other hand, has to move up to the numerator because we're taking its reciprocal. So our final answer is negative x cubed over 4. So I hope this answered any questions you might have had concerning your tests. If you have any questions after watching this, then I'll be happy to answer them when we have a Zoom meeting this week.